Hello and welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage and today we're going to be having a look at Algo. Before we jump into the price action, I'd just like to say thank you for watching the video. If you're enjoying the content, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description below, you'll find a link to Discord. Why not come check it out? It's free to join. Once you're in there, just add mention member staff will be happy to help you out. Okay, so let's get into it. So there's a few things we need to talk about. We haven't looked at this one for a while. We were initially looking for this 5-wave move to play out, shown by this white 4th and 5th. However, we've actually come up too far now for this to be valid anymore. So this move is unlikely. Basically, what we'd have to look at is the only way this move would still be valid is if we're actually getting extension in here where this is a 1-2, we're forming a 1-2, and then we're going to look for that further rejection to the downside. Although this would be a much more bearish potential within this move, but it is still possible. So until we take this high point of this 24.96, effectively we need to just be aware that this could actually look to break down. So we need to just be careful with this and see how we get on. So there are some bullish potential options with this. We're going to talk about those as well. We're going to talk about a few things. So let's get into it. So I'm going to turn this off for a second. And we're going to just quickly pop onto the bigger time frame here. If I turn off all of this, actually I need to keep that one on. Let's turn that back on. There. So we're looking for this as potentially a 4th wave into this high point. This can also be seen as a X wave within this, where we're still looking for an A, B, and a C. So there's two ways of counting this to the downside. So we can sort of change the top of this move. We were looking at it as completing into here, and then we're looking for 1-2, 1-2, and then we're looking for that breaking down. However, now because we've actually come up past this point here, we can't really read it as a wave 4 anymore unless it's going to become a diagonal, which it is not looking very likely. It doesn't look like good structure for that. So there is a way of counting this slightly different. So we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, and then basically we end into this low point here, in which case we can argue that we have a connector wave here and that we actually look to break down again. However, I don't really like the size of this move. I would have preferred it to be a bit bigger in size, but we can argue that we could still have an ABC here, which does mean that we could still allow for the fact of seeing a bigger diagonal pattern here, where this becomes a wave 1. We come up to the upside, form a wave 2, 3, 4, and a 5 to the downside. So basically within these waves, we would still be looking for the potential of forming basically so we'd form a 3-wave move to the upside, then we'd look for a zigzag again, and basically continue this move like this. This is possible, so we just need to keep an eye on it, and really until we break back above this 45-cent region, we need to be careful that we don't get further extension. A first sign would be coming back and taking this 24.96. Secondly would be moving back above this 31.30 region, but we do have a lot of previous support here as well, which has been lost, and we could actually look to move up and retest this and face rejection again. So we just need to be careful that even if we do have a bigger move up to the upside here, it could just be coming into these zones, rejecting and pushing further down and making a new low. So there is, like I said, also bullish potential here, but we need to see the right confirmation. So if we're going to talk about the move to the upside now, I'm going to talk about a couple of things within this. We could be looking at, we were initially looking at the potential that we have this as a 1-2, then we're looking as a 3rd wave into this high point here, and then that would mean that we would have to be within a 5th wave within this move here. So we can look at this in a few ways. We can look at this as basically within here a 1, 2, up into this as a 3rd, and then a 4th, and looking for that 5th. However, within this, what we'd be looking for then is basically moving up potentially into this zone here of this 24.61 to this 25.71. That would be a range we could actually look to push up for this 5th wave. However, we haven't quite broken this top yet, and this 4th wave was quite deep. So there is also potential that this could look to extend, and we could potentially look at a bigger move here. Within this, we can also argue that we could have had something like this, where we actually finish off 4th and 5th into this high point, and that could be a completed move. And then we could be looking for some extension. So we're going to go over that shortly. But basically, within this move, what I would want to see for it to be confirmed as a completed move. I'd want to see that move up into that zone that we talked about here of this basically of this 2570 to this 2460 range. That would be an area we would be looking for as a potential zone for a completion. If that is the case, what we'd be looking for after that move up is a much deeper correction within this. And if we're looking at this as a potential 5-wave move, what I want to see is basically a move deeper down in this zone. And what we'd be looking for is potentially moving back to this 20-cent region into pretty much all the way down to the 1759 could be a typical zone if we do actually complete this in this manner. The thing that I don't really like about it within the structure is there's a bit of overlap. So we're going to be talking about that. There is also a potential here to count this differently. So looking at this in a different way, and we're looking for a bigger move, we can argue also with counting this move slightly different, that we have an extension within this wave 1, and it's basically looking at this as a 1-2, and then we're looking at this as some extension that's potentially happening now within this wave 3. So what we'd be looking at here is that this is a potential 1-2 into this low point, and then we're setting up for pretty much the same sort of thing we were talking about in the other option. What we would want to see here, though, with this to confirm it, is basically looking at this. If I come into this high point here, down into this low point, so we've moved up past the 618 of this. So like I said, we can argue that this is a completed move into this zone here. Alternatively, we can also argue that we still have some upside to come here. So if this is a completed 5-wave move into there, and we're not going to get this as a 4th and a 5th push up into this 2569 to this 2558 area, what we would be looking for actually is then the potential we could have some extension. So what we'd have to be careful of is we're looking for this as potentially within this green, let me change the color of this yellow wave 3 here. And this yellow wave 3 would be within this green wave 3 effectively. So if we're looking at this, we could be looking at the potential to see some extension within these waves. And what we could then look at is the fact that we've come down here, and this has actually come past that 50% zone. And what we want to see here is a move past this 2942 for confirmation of this. And then what that would actually tell us is that we've had a 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and that we're actually starting to progress now, and this should actually start to get more vertical here and get quite a lot of volume kick in if it is correct. If it isn't correct, then this could be a corrective structure, which we're going to go over shortly. If we do start to see some volume kick in here, what we'd be looking for is basically this move within here would become a wave 1, a wave 2, and then looking for that wave 3 to the upside. So basically within that, what we'd be wanting is to see that volume come in. We'd want to see that that power come into this move effectively. Until we do, it is also possible that this could just be an A, we form a B wave, and we come back down into this region, and the region would be looking to potentially retest then would be between sort of this this 50% and this 786. So we can argue that we could see a rejection here, fail to break this high, and actually look to move to the downside, and that could take us into the 786 to the 618 zone. That could be basically then a 1 and a 2, and then looking for that progression. Though if we do actually start to break down here and we lose these lows of this 1965 and alternatively this zone here of this 1805, that gets rid of this bullish potential within this move, and we would have to look at this as a corrective structure to the upside. We wouldn't really be able to count it as impulsive, in my opinion, if we don't continue up here, unless we are looking at it literally, like I said, as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we got that extension within the 5th. So if we have completed this 5th here, then we'd be looking for a much deeper retracement within this structure, potentially back down to this 1965 zone. So within this move is basically a bigger 5-wave move. So it needs to prove itself, in my opinion, if we're looking at this as a bullish count, because we'd need to see this start to move away more sort of with more volatility and sort of get this upward push here. Because otherwise what we can actually have a look at within this is if I just turn this off for a second and we go back to this, we were talking previously about corrective structure, and we were looking at the possibility that we could have had this as a W and X, and then potentially looking for a Y wave to the upside. So this is still potentially possible. We can look at this potentially as a W, X, and then a Y to the top, to the upside here, and it's completed. Alternatively, we can look at this as a more complex correction, and we can actually break this down into either a WX, YXZ like we have it here. So basically this would be made up of zigzags within it if we looked at it in this manner, and that could actually be a completed move into this high point, in which case we would actually want to start to move away from here and get away from this channel. So this channel is a shorter term channel, based off of the bottom of the bottoms of these moves and connecting the most points, and then basically projecting it up to the top of the move. So we're right on that channel line. So it is possible we could actually get rejection if we're going to continue to obey this channel. Alternatively, we have a higher time frame channel top on the that's just above us here at this sort of 2718 region. So I mean, that could look to offer us resistance in this same sort of zone here of this 28 to this 27. Where's the lowest point? 2753. So that could be a zone, if we do push up, that we could encounter that resistance and actually push back to the downside. So there are some bullish potentials here, but there's also some bearish ones. So we need more time to play out with this. So we can look at this as a WX1 to here, where we look at this W, X, and a Y up into this high point, in which case we can argue that we have as X either completed here or completing here. So for as long as we stay above this 1805, we could look for this X wave to play out. Like I said, either that could be, it could be completed down in this one move here, or we could actually see a bigger move where we go A, B, and then C, and then maybe come back and retest this channel bottom, and then look to push away for this Z wave. What we would want to be looking at here is, if we are looking at it potentially as completed there, what we would want to see is basically this as a W wave projected up here into this low point. This 1-to-1 would actually bring us up here to this 2562. So depending on how long this takes to play out, this could actually look to move up and basically take this look at this channel line again. A 1-2-3-6 would be this 2672 zone. So that's somewhere we could actually look to potentially move up to if this is a corrective structure. So we just need to sort of give it a bit of time, I think, because if we start to move away from here, then I'd be more inclined to think of that impulsive structure. We're talking about 1-2, 1-2, and then we sort of within this third of a third wave, and it's starting to extend out, and we see that sort of impulsive push to the upside. So the zones we really want to travel past with that is basically we'd want to get past this. First we want to push past this 2416, and then we'd want to see further continuation with that. And what that would be is, if I come onto this one, let's get it right on there, right on this bottom into there, get right on this. So we'd want to see a push past that 2480 as well. A move past that 2480 would then give us more confidence that we could be extending here, where we're looking for this as a wave 3 within this. But the internal structure of this then we'd have to look as that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we do get that fifth wave to the upside we're talking about, then that could mark this this third wave high. Then we'd be looking for this retracement into this zone here. So I'm actually going to just throw some price labels on it. If we do push up as a fifth wave into that zone and then we start to get rejected, I'd be looking to travel back down into this region here where we had this previous consolidation, which would be between this 2222 and this 2366 at the higher end of the spectrum. So that would be a zone we'd be looking to move back into, and then looking to push up again for a fifth wave. Yeah. So we just need to give it a bit more time. There's a lot of possibilities here, so we'll try to keep you up to date as best we can. If we start to move away more sort of horizontally here, vertically rather, here, then basically what we want to see is I'd think that this sort of bigger 5-wave moves in play here. If we fail to do so, it could just be a corrective structure and we look to break down. So we'll keep you updated. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. I hope everyone has a great weekend, and yeah, keep safe out there, everybody. Take care.